When it comes to retirement accounts, there's none more confusing than a LIRA, locked in registered account. Where does it come from? How do you use it in retirement? What does it convert to at retirement? There's special unlocking provisions. There's a lot of weird things that follow a LIRA account. And today we have John Coutney back, who was here not long ago joining us. He's part of our fee for service financial planning team here at Parallel Wealth. And I've asked him to come on to talk about LIRAs and lifts and how they work. And for a lot of you, you have a LIRA and you don't know kind of what it means for retirement. So hopefully, once you've done finishing this video, you should have a clear picture on what is your LIRA, what you need to do with it at retirement, how it works, how much you can take out, and everything in between. So let's welcome John to the channel and let's jump into the content.
All right, John, thanks so much for joining us again here. Second time back on the channel. Appreciate it. Today we're talking about LIRAs, lifts, what they are, how they work, how they actually provide income, where they came from, all of that. So first question I have for you is explain where a LIRA actually comes from, because someone might be looking at their statement and see a LIRA and be like, where the heck did I get this thing?
Yeah, so generally a LIRA comes from when you leave a job that has a employer-sponsored pension plan. So common things that viewers might hear about is a defined benefit pension plan or maybe a defined contribution pension plan. Those are the two primary sources that we'll see that, so when you leave, those funds can be transferred into what's called a LIRA, and it's a locked-in retirement account, and that's generally where they originate from.
Okay, so again, most companies nowadays don't have a DB, a defined benefit pension plan. They have a defined contribution, meaning how much you put in, how much you contribute is defined. When you leave the company, typically rolls over to a LIRA. So that probably is where people will get their LIRA account from.
Yeah, and a lot of times companies will set up like a matching program. So you put in 4%, they'll match you 4%. And then, when you end up leaving that company, you've got this accumulated of money. What do you do with it? Right? You got a few options. You could transfer it to another pension plan, purchase a life annuity, transfer it to a LIRA or a LIF. But commonly, it's moved to a locked-in retirement account.
Okay, so then how can a LIRA, a locked-in retirement account, be used in retirement?
So you can use it similar to like a RIF. So when you convert your RSP to a RIF, the Registered Retirement Income Fund, it has similar rules to that. But there's a maximum that you can withdraw. So it does have the same minimum as a RIF, but the caveat is that where it's different is that there's a maximum that you can't take out. So if somebody wanted to take out all of their money, say there's $50,000 and they were doing an RSP meltdown, let's get that money out of that LIRA. They couldn't necessarily take all the 50,000 out based on their age. There would be a maximum amount that they could withdraw.
Okay, and hence why when we build plans, we typically say, okay, you have a RSP, a LIRA, a TFSA non-reg account. We convert RSP to RIF, LIRA to a LIF, and we'll start with the maximum amount coming out of the LIF because it's the most kind of constrained account. That's where we want to kind of start, then complement it with the RIF. That's typically how we would build out a plan.
Absolutely. Once you hit retirement and you no longer have employment income, we'll generally convert your LIRA to a LIF and then withdraw the maximum. And that generally will have it depleted by your age 90. There's some other provisions that are available, but we can get to that.
And so if I worked in BC or Ontario or Alberta or somewhere in between, is there a difference if I have a LIRA in a different province?
Yeah, so it's actually based on jurisdiction. It doesn't necessarily matter what province you reside in. So it's dependent on the pension plan where they're set up. So if they're with BC, then there's rules for BC LIRAs. And they're going to be different from Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan. Every province has one, and there's also federal jurisdiction as well.
So can you give me a couple examples, like if I'm in BC versus Ontario, like, what can I do with my LIRA when I retire? As far as converting to a LIF, can I unlock any of it?
Yeah, so with respect to unlocking, there's a few reasons you can. The most common reason that we see for unlocking is the 50% unlocking. And so I'm in Alberta. So in Alberta, for example, when you turn 50, you can do a 50% unlocking when you convert that to a life income fund. You take half the money and move it as is. The investments can stay the same, and they can go directly into your RSP. Now you've got full control on the withdrawals, and whether that converts to a RIF to help complement your income, that's fine. But then you can do those withdrawals. Now in BC, rules are a little bit different. You can't unlock any of it. So you just have to take the maximum amount for the withdrawal, and that'll have that depleted by your age 90.
Okay, so a few things here. Unlocking isn't like unlocking to my bank account. It's just moving. So if you had $100,000 LIRA and you lived in Alberta, and when you convert it to a LIF to start drawing money out, you could take 50,000 and move it into your RRSP, or essentially a RIF down the road. And the other 50,000 goes into a LIF. Now that 50,000 again has a minimum and a maximum every year that you can take out of there. So typically we'd say for most of you, you want to take the maximum amount out of it. The 50,000 that rolled over to the RSP, you just now, yes, it's in your RSP, but you have more control. There's no maximum amount. There's more flexibility on that $50,000 of asset, which is great. Now, One thing to note is when you convert, and this is really important for people, and your financial planners should know this, but we see it done wrong all the time, is when you convert from your LIRA to a LIF, make sure you know the jurisdiction. So if you can unlock any of it, the unlocking has to happen within 60 days of application. So if you convert to a LIF and your advisor says, oh, well, unlock it down the road, you have 60 days. So make sure it should all be part of the same process when we do it for our clients. The unlocking happens at the same time as everything else. So it's kind of all done at once. So that's something important. Like if you wait past 60 days and you go to unlock it, you're going to be out of luck. And we actually have a website, parallelwealth.com/LIRA. You can learn about kind of the rules around unlocking, what ages, how much, and a link for each province or territory on that website. So if you have a LIRA, if you're wondering, I need to learn more about this, how it works, we do have a website that will give you all that information as well. So yeah, John, any last words there on the LIRA and unlocking?
One thing that I commonly tell people when we're doing these plans is that a lot of provinces have a small balance unlocking provision. So when you're at about, it's based on a percentage of the year's maximum pensionable earnings. If it's around 30,000, it's likely that you're getting close to being able to unlock it under the small balance provision. And another trick is when you do, if you have a smaller LIRA, let's say it's, $60,000, and you're going to do that 50% unlocking, now you're really close to the small balance unlocking provision. So you can actually, sometimes trigger the 50% unlocking and then do the small balance unlocking to get that whole amount over to your RSP. And that's all a tax deferred event to just get it so that you have full control of your money.
Yeah, no, that's a great tip because unlocking 50% may also allow you to do the small provision, get the whole thing to an RSP, and just create that flexibility around that drawdown.
Yeah, as we retire, we just want to consolidate and make things easier, right? So to get that all into one account, you don't have little things going around.
Less tax left, the better, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, John, thanks so much for your insight on this and joining us on the channel, and we'll get you back on here again soon.
See you soon. Thanks.